Alrighty, welcome to another episode of College Coffee Talk with your hosts, Pearl and Andy Lockwood. This is a show. Hello, Pearl.
Hi, Andy. Hi, everybody.
I was all business there. I'm sorry. Let's get a little small talk. How are you? How are things going?
Good. How are you?
Synchronized sip of coffee, cappuccino
Cappuccino?
with actual milk.
Milk with an I. Yep.
Okay. All right, back to business. So this show is all about helping families with college-bound teens with strategies to get into college, strategies to pay for college, the latest news and developments, and there seems to be something new and developy every week to discuss. So Pearl has uncovered two incredibly obscure, convoluted FAFSA hacks in the last, I would say, week or so. And the other news that we're going to be covering as we bring in a special celebrity guest, we will be discussing the the SAT Math Meltdown. So the first digital SAT was administered by the College Board on March 9th. And then later in the week, a bunch of students took it in school. I think it was 200,000 students across 3,000 test centers over 173 countries took the digital SAT, and then another 400,000 took them in school after March 9th. So we're getting back some preliminary results anecdotally. So we'll be talking about that too, and then discussing what you do going forward. So Pearl,
Andy.
Let's talk Pearl.
Andy.
Okay. Oh, and if you let us know that you're with us.
Tell us hi.
In the comments, yeah, just and if you have any questions or you have anything to share about either topic or anything else, preferably college related, put them right there in the comments, and we will get to them. If not live, then after we wrap up at 10:30. So who do we have with us?
Well, we have a few
Shout outs.
Shy but viewers, but nobody's saying anything, but lots of viewers.
That's okay. We can spy through Zuck. Zuck lets us say who's.
I noticed that you're able to spy better than I can.
Really?
You'll have to show me when we're in a production meeting next.
Okay.
All right.
That's fine. Well, there we go.
Yeah. Awkward.
Dina, Maureen. Hi, Maureen. Dara, and 5 other people. And it looks like there's 20-something people on so far.
All right.
Okay, Pearl, let's talk some hacks. What have you stumbled across in your mysterious ways as you work your way through financial aid applications with our clients?
Hacks and glitches. Okay, so that's what we've got. I described
boots and cats and boots and cats.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll quickly describe the hack because it's pretty cool, and when people are anxiously awaiting anything produced from their FAFSA submission, they've got nothing. This is a hack so that you actually can get something before they supposedly allow everyone, meaning colleges and students and parents alike, to re-access an already submitted FAFSA to actually see anything, change anything, add schools, do anything to it whatsoever. As of right now, still, you are unable to do anything with an already submitted FAFSA unless you were one of the very first FAFSAs submitted in the very first week of January. I am seeing that those FAFSAs that were submitted earlier, you can log in. It will no longer say it's in review. It will actually say processed. You can actually click on and see a student aid report. However, there is also a tab that says, in the next couple of weeks, you will be able to make corrections and log in and actually do these things, but we're not there yet. Okay, so that is the best case scenario. The hack that I had shared, which if you don't know and you have not already submitted a FAFSA, very quickly, this is what you would do. You would log in first with the student's FSA ID, complete the entire FAFSA with the exception of adding the schools. You add no schools, you hit save, you exit the student's FSA ID, the parent enters the parent FSA ID, meaning the parent who was invited to contribute. You will complete the parent's portion, submit it. Go back to the student's FSA ID, log in with the student's FSA ID, add the school, submit it. At that time, you'll actually get a printed out FAFSA confirmation page with your student aid index, your SAI, which is your akin to last year's and years prior's EFC. Okay, that was one hack.
Do you feel like she's reading IKEA furniture assembly directions the way I do? This is so convoluted.
I know it is a bit convoluted, and just very quickly, the second glitch that I have picked up this week for those that are submitting the FAFSA, as I've explained, you go in, the student submits and completes their portion of the FAFSA with their FSA ID, username, and password. When they're in their portion of the FAFSA, there's a place where they're inviting a parent to complete their portion of the FAFSA.
Which is nice to invite them.
It is nice. Sure.
Hey,
it's very nice.
Complete your portion of the FAFSA, and then you can pay for my college.
Right. And what should happen when a parent then logs in subsequently to their FSA ID, username, and password, a pending invitation should be right there. Do not pass go should be right in front of their eyes so that they don't have to think too much and click in 20 million other directions that the FAFSA allows you, that the Department of Education site allows you to do. It says pending invitation. You click on it and you go right in. Unfortunately, this week's glitch, there's no pending invitation there now. So what an instinct might be is, because it'll say complete the FAFSA, yes, and I'm completing it as the parent. And guess what? You're going to go into a place that you don't need to go into. That's not going to help. That's not going to contribute to your students' FAFSA. Unfortunately, it's a glitch. If it doesn't say pending invitation for the parent, log out. Go back to the student's FSA ID, log back in, go into that parent contributor, delete the information, repopulate the information, resubmit it or re-exit. Then when you go back into that parent's FSA ID, lo and behold, you will see that pending invitation. But unfortunately, I've seen that all week with the lack of the pending invitation. So if that's what happens, just do what I said.
That was very dramatic. Appreciate that.
Trying to make it interesting, folks.
Yeah, no.
Monday morning slot ain't great.
You know what? It's important. So I don't know who else would figure this stuff out. You know, the FAFSA publishes occasionally like a list of glitches. The ones that she discovers are never there.
Not on those lists, which constitute about 20 or so mistakes every week.
All right, so if you're just joining us and you want to lob in some questions or some snarky comments like I see, please go ahead and do so. So again, hello to Dara, to Jen Herman, and Daniel the Swaddler Ticcio, who says, Andy, let Pearl be Pearl. What? Like I have a choice, like she's going to not be Pearl?
That's true.
And hello to our terrific assistant, Christine, and Jackie, and Francisca, and Shelly, Pat, Emmett, Denise, and a question from Dina, which we will get to, and hello to Teresa. Very cool. So now, here's what's important about all this stuff, because it's all going to be figured out eventually, but it's sloppy. And just if you haven't been following this really exciting story for some reason, over the last 2 years, things have been building up and crescendoing in December and January with this massive seismic overhaul to the main financial aid application, the FAFSA, which was supposed to simplify the process, but the Department of Education, dropped the ball. There's all kinds of congressional investigations like being murmured about or actually happening, so on and so forth. The main issue is that it's caused a pretty sharp decrease in the number of financial aid applications filed. I think it's off by like a third. And the other thing is that it's pushing back the timeline for everyone who's this class of 2025 kid to commit to their colleges. Traditionally, the housing deposits go in on May 1st, but most colleges still have not received. They've gotten a trickle, but they still have not received the FAFSA data, even if it was filed in January. Right. So that's pushing the time back for everyone, and colleges practically every day are announcing that they're pushing back their own housing deposit deadlines. So there's a list out there somewhere. Maybe if I can remember, I'll pop it into this post here. But there's a list out there, a running list of colleges that have moved their deadlines. But I think it's going to be frankly, all of them. When everything's said and done. Yeah. So hang in there. It's definitely messy, but it's gonna resolve eventually.
Exactly. And the other important thing is everyone is under these same constraints.
Yeah.
So it's going to be figured out all for one and one for all. So don't stress it.
Very Three Musketeers like. Okay. So now we're going to bring in our head tutor, Marissa Unenberg. Hello, Marissa.
Good morning.
Good morning. So we want to talk a little bit about the digital SAT Math Meltdown that we are, I guess, experiencing. So results are in for kids who took it in the SAT, the first ever digital SAT on March 9th. And the results for kids who took the digital SAT in the United States, I should say, afterward in classrooms, I don't think they have come in yet. So just like give us the lay of the land, and let's talk about how people should act going forward.
So from what I've been hearing from students and parents, both clients of ours and people I'm just typing on the internet, the consensus seems to be that if you got the harder math module in the national test date, which was given on a Saturday, it was just extremely hard for people. There were questions that people are telling me they haven't seen anything like this on any of the Blue Book practice tests, and it's much harder for those who took the paper test as well. It was much harder than the paper test. And I was skeptical hearing those reports come in, but now that the scores are coming in, it does seem to be backing up what I'm hearing from people, that people have been seeing lower scores, lower than the Blue Book practice test that they've done, and lower than paper tests that they've done as well. I'm not exactly sure how to explain why this happened. I guess the College Board is the only one who can truly answer this. Is this a fluke? Did they have problems standardizing this version of the test? I don't know, but we have heard, as Andy mentioned, that the people who took it as a school day, which also could have been on a Saturday unusually. They're saying that those tests were actually not super hard on the math module. So that gives me hope that this is just not a permanent situation, that every test from month to month goes up and down in difficulty from section to section. It's always happened since the SAT has been given. It happens on the ACT as well. Maybe this one was just particularly hard and people kind of panicked because they didn't know these questions. Not sure. Unfortunately, they don't let us actually get to see the questions anymore. But for anybody experiencing this, I do recommend giving the test another shot. The odds are pretty good that you're not going to have a repeat of this in May or June.
So a couple questions. So Blue Book, that's the app that the College Board created for test taking?
Yeah, so they gave us 4 official practice tests prior to the March exam. Digital, yeah. So most of those are much easier, I'm hearing, than the math on the actual SAT. They did just release within the last few days more digital practice tests. I'll have to take them today to see if they actually increase the difficulty level of them or not. I can't imagine that they intentionally only gave us easy practice tests. I still maintain that that's our best source, so we shall see.
Yeah, so I've been talking to a few clients, and I've heard math scores dropping from like anywhere from 30 to 100 points. People who did the old test compared to the new test, they all reported it was much harder. I don't know if part of this has to do with the adaptive component or feature of the test, so that if you do well enough on the first module, it seems like that second module was super hard. Reading between the lines.
If you got the harder version of the second one, it was much harder, I'm hearing. It's always much harder, but it was even harder than we would expect based on the material we have so far. Yeah. Part of the problem with the new digital test is that we have far fewer problems, which necessitates that each problem is worth more points. So that's another issue, that maybe if you panicked and you started making careless mistakes on that second module, that kind of snowballed, and now they're worth more, could be worth 20, 30, 40 points, where previously maybe it was worth only 10. So maybe, 3 mistakes might account for a 100-point decrease.
Interesting. Yeah, that kind of got overlooked, I think, in terms of the shorter test, and
Yeah.
logically each question is worth more. So you feel that, and I think I agree with you, but that the College Board is likely to sort of even things out and adapt in terms of the difficulty or ease of these questions and the scores, because cynically speaking, if the SAT becomes known as a much harder test, it's going to drive more people away from the SAT toward the ACT.
Yeah, and it won't be as useful to colleges if it's not standardized. They need to get a similar distribution of scores with every test administration. So if this truly is a problem and not just something that we're sort of hearing anecdotally, they will have to fix it. It's certainly in their best interest to do so.
It's really surprising because they're so good at predicting how kids are going to perform ahead of time before they even release the scores. And there's they didn't just do this haphazardly. It's really what I thought was the new test might be a little bit harder in math, but the scores wouldn't be so much lower.
Yeah,
but it seems like they're a lot lower.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we could see some hard data on this to see what the actual distribution was. I feel like they're not going to show us that, but
Yeah.
Really interesting to see.
Well, we'll let the conspiracy theories abound.
Yeah.
So you drew a distinction between kids who took the test domestically and international students. So how do you think international students fared?
I haven't heard too many complaints, just based on what I've seen posted on the internet. It seems to be the people who took it in the US that are complaining about that second, more difficult math module. So, I really don't think this is just going to be their standard.
Was it the same test given internationally?
No, not anymore. No, it used to be the same test internationally.
You mean there are different tests?
Yeah, well, it used to be the same, but then there's a big cheating problem because people who took them in different countries would get the answers over to the kids in the United States.
Right. So now there are different tests?
Yeah.
Even though they're done at the same time?
Yes. Right, Marissa?
Well, technically,
the international one's easier? Oh.
I mean, I don't think
that's just your anecdote at this point, right? That's where the complaints are?
You're trying to paint her into a corner?
No, I'm just asking. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah, Marissa's a lawyer.
It's just interesting when it's supposed to be standard.
Maybe the international students are a little better at math.
It's just interesting.
But that's actually a very important comment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Marissa's noticed a drop off in skills in the last couple of years since COVID. Right. Cabana. So, all right. Any questions coming in here for either of us? Let me see here. So Dina had a question about the FAFSA. I did the parent, now wants a student to do it. What if your student swears she didn't get an invitation? Okay. LOL. This is from January or February.
What I would recommend is that the student log in with the student's FSA ID. Go ahead and complete the student's portion of the FAFSA. And within completing the student's portion of the FAFSA, invite for the first time the parent, even though you've already completed your portion. Invite the parent. Complete it, don't add the school, and log out, go back to the parent FSA ID login. Hopefully your pending invitation will be there. If it isn't, again, go, just because this is the glitch of the week, go back into the student's FSA ID, into the FAFSA, re-enter the parent's information to get the invite, go through with it, log out, go into the parents. You should see a pending invitation, log into that, complete that, submit it. Go back into the students, log in, add the school, submit it. It should clear up this issue that you're having now.
All right, so this is your chance for questions. Hello to Beverly, Kelly, and Rebecca, and FJ to experience the same thing about scores, it looks like. Rebecca, FAFSA-geddon and digital SAT disaster, what a year. I prefer FAFSA Apocalypse, but I think FAFSA Geddon's pretty
It
good.
works.
Yeah, easy
We
to
like
say. Hello to Heidi. All right, Michelle. We've already filed the FAFSA as of January 10th. Is there ways since we are submitted now stuck in limbo with it being processed, but with corrections needed as of March 17th status due to the you need to provide signature, but that's grayed out. How do you get your SAI? How do you get your student aid index?
Okay, if you're missing signatures, which means there's still something that needed to happen, which is just I'm taking a guess here. Some part of the second parent's information was faulty when when you're logged in with the parent FSA ID, the invited parent, that parent completes the information. The second parent's information is required at the very end. You have to give their birth date, their social, their email, etc. If any part of that information is incorrect, like the spelling of the name, there's a junior, anything.
Too long a name?
Too long a name, exactly. And it doesn't submit, that is going to cause you to have missing signatures. So you'll have to either figure out what the mistake is in order to move past that. And then in terms of viewing, and then that should succeed. So then you'll submit it, and then you should go back into the student's FSA ID and resubmit it, or it may show you that it's now been successfully processed and submitted. And in a rollout fashion, depending on when your FAFSA was submitted, again, those that have submitted in that first week of January are able to log in and see a student aid report. And if you were somewhere in the middle of January, I would just give it maybe another week. You should be able, but you got to correct the missing signature issue first, which I believe is caused by the second spouse information.
Can you repeat that one more time?
I could. I don't think anyone wants to hear it.
I always do. All right, Jen Herman. If a student was planning on taking the digital SAT this summer, do you recommend taking it at that time, or better wait until fall or winter until there are more digital tests released, Marissa?
Well, we don't know if there will be more digital tests released by the fall or winter. College Board is not good at holding their promises, and they haven't even made any more promises to have them before then. We were supposed to have some last October, and we didn't get them until last week. So I wouldn't hold your breath. They're not releasing the QAS anymore. That would often get leaked to the internet. Those are the copies where you could see like a copy of the test that you took. Those are done. We're never going to see them again. So the only material we're getting straight from College Board is what they choose to officially release on their website and through the Blue Book app. So I wouldn't wait for that reason. Not at all. I think the only reason to wait would be to make sure that you got some Algebra 2 under your belt. So if your student has already taken Algebra 2 or is in Algebra 2 now, I think the August test is a wonderful test. There are some issues. There's one big issue, but it's a wonderful test because you can use that summer period to prepare without the stress of school and other extracurricular activities. The only negative is that at least in our area and probably in more congested areas like, LA or whatever, it's hard to get a local testing center. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, you either need to be prepared to take a bit of a drive, either the morning or the day before your test, or you have to become a College Board stalker and look at their website maybe once or twice a day, beginning in maybe May, to figure out, when they open up their registration process, because they do not tell us when they're opening their registration. And the moment it's open, those testing centers start just filling up. I think last August, it filled up the first day it was open, at least from what I can hear from people. So I had people checking on day 2 and it was already full. So you really have to be kind of crazy to get a good testing center.
Or a mom.
I think
this is like when,
Jen's more of the road trip kind of girl.
Back when the kids were in camp, you were looking for the camp photos with refresh.
Yeah.
That's what this reminds me of.
You need to be like that. It was like, getting like a concert ticket or a COVID vaccine. You have to sit there
It's a big three. Can't lose COVID, vaccine, and concert tickets. All right, so you've got this is a good time to mention you've got some prep classes happening. You've got one starting like tonight, right? The for the SAT in June or
May. Yeah. So for those brave souls going to take the SAT a second time, we do have a class beginning tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. It runs on Mondays and Wednesdays, and it meets every week until the week of the SAT. I'm not sure if I put it in the chat here that it's going to show up on Facebook.
I posted the link. It's lockwoodtestprep.com/online.
Yes. And we do have some in-person classes we'll be offering over the summer as well.
In our new under construction office.
Yep.
Yes. Very exciting.
Without the dank smell coming from the rain in the basement.
Bucket of water.
Yeah. What was that? A roof leak that you were showing me yesterday? What was that?
I don't know. I just went and I saw this pipe hanging out of the ceiling with the really dirty water filling up a very large bucket underneath.
Yeah, well, that was 2 days after we signed the lease for the new place. So.
Almost as good as the new FAFSA rollout.
Well, if there were ever a sign that you made the right decision, I think
it was maybe my new landlord did sabotage the old one. Okay, any questions you have about either of the topics today or anything college related? Pop them in. Kelly wants to know if Pearl covered the hacks yet. Yes, she did. So you can watch this on replay once we wrap up. Pamela, SAT. If you make a mistake when completing the first section, will you have access to questions that will allow a student to receive a high score?
Yes, you can make one mistake for sure and definitely get into the harder second module. How many mistakes you can make exactly, it varies from test to test, and the College Board certainly will not tell us that information. But if you do, I would imagine, above average on the first module, that you'll get the harder version of the second module.
My overarching, just circling back, comment in terms of test prep. There are a finite amount of tests that you can take when the student has already mastered the substantive work and the time when there's just no more time left when you're applying. There are a finite number of tests. So whenever you're in that striking zone, as many and as frequent as you can to, try to hit the score you're looking to hit. So waiting is never really that helpful for you in this instance because the train's going and the opportunities are passing. And we are seeing generally the trend is now back to requiring test scores. That is what schools are, more and more each week. We're announcing new schools that are now abandoning the test optional and are requiring tests because they have found they are, in fact, an indicator of how successful a student will perform in college.
Yeah, better than GPA, inflated GPA in high school. That's why the test scores are important.
And if you're looking for scholarship money, merit money, you need to submit scores. So frequently, or as frequently as you need to, in that striking zone, once you've amassed the underlying substantive math information that you need to perform well, and up until you're not going to be taking the test anymore when you're entering college, it's a finite window. And it's an important thing not to overlook.
Even in the state of California, the planet of California, where they are test blind, they still use standardized tests to place kids in classes and for merit aid. So, which is so funny to me. Well, that in and of itself is funny. And the second thing is, before the state of California adopted this policy, they commissioned a study to figure out whether the tests promoted or decreased diversity and were accurate or not accurate. And apparently the result of that commissioned study showed that the tests increased diversity and were predictive of student performance. And so what they do with the results of that, they went test blind. They said, okay, well, we don't care what the results are. We're just going to do what we want, for our own reasons. And now it's sort of coming, it seems like it's starting to come full circle as more and more schools are announcing that they are no longer test optional. Yeah. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up for today. I see a few more questions came in, so we will try to answer those in the comments section. One of your clients, Marissa, Dan Ticcio, is going to be supervising his son. He's one of those helicopter parents taking your class tonight. So just keep an eye on him. I think he wanted to know if you would take the actual test for him. He's one of those types of people.
Send me a private message.
Okay, yeah.
Just kidding, anybody.
Yeah. Just kidding if there's any Rick Singer fans out there. Lori Loughlin fans. Dan is like the Lori Loughlin of Jersey. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for watching with us this week, and we love doing it, and we're going to keep doing it as long as people find the information valuable. Marissa, thank you for your contributions.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome, and we'll see everyone next week. Same time, same